The sky was on fire. Sergeant Ray Morgan held on tight as her dropship screamed through the atmosphere of the alien planet. Flames wrapped around the windows. The ship shook so hard it felt like it would break apart at any moment. Warning lights flashed red. Alarms blared from every corner. The pilot shouted something, but Ray couldn't hear. All she could think was, "We're going down." Then impact. The crash was violent. Metal crunched. The ship hit the ground, bounced, and finally slid through the thick alien jungle before smashing into a massive tree. Ray blacked out. When she opened her eyes, smoke filled the cabin. Sparks flew from broken wires. She could barely breathe. Her head throbbed. Her armor was scorched and cracked. Ray reached for her rifle, first old habit, and crawled out of the wreckage. The outside world was worse. The planet called Hellthorn was unlike anything Ray had ever seen. Thick vines covered everything, and they weren't normal vines. They moved, slowly twisting in the air like they were alive. The trees were enormous, with dark bark and glowing blue sap dripping down like blood. Strange animal sounds echoed through the air. The whole jungle felt wrong, like it was watching her. Ray called out, "This is Sergeant Ray Morgan. Does anyone copy?" Her voice echoed back. No answer. She checked her communicator. Static. No signal. She looked around for survivors. The rest of her squad was gone. Some had been thrown from the ship. Others might have been killed on impact. All she could see were broken pieces of metal, fire, and one burned body lying face down in the dirt. Her stomach turned. She activated her emergency beacon. It was a small black box clipped to her belt. She pressed it hard. "Earth Command, this is Morgan. Ship down. Squad lost. I'm alive. Please send help." The light on the beacon blinked red, trying to send the message. That's when she heard it, a sound deep in the trees, a low, growling breath. Heavy footsteps, something big. She froze and held her rifle up. The jungle went quiet, too quiet. Then she saw it, 2 glowing red eyes. Then 4 more. 6 eyes in total, staring from the shadows between the trees. Whatever it wasn't a normal animal. It stood on 4 thick legs, covered in hard black plates like armor. Its mouth was lined with rows of hooked teeth, and it made a clicking sound with each step. Ray's heart pounded. She backed away slowly, keeping her rifle aimed at the creature. But the beast didn't wait. It charged, returned, and ran. Branches tore at her armor. Sharp leaves sliced her arms. She could hear the monster crashing through the jungle behind her. It was fast and smart. It didn't roar like an animal. It was silent, focused, like a hunter. She spotted a slope ahead and jumped down, rolling as she hit the ground. The creature skidded past above her, losing sight of her for a moment. She crawled through a thick bush and tried to catch her breath. She was shaking, sweating, bleeding from a cut on her forehead. "This place is a death world," she whispered to herself. "Everything here wants to kill me." That was no joke. Hellthorn wasn't just dangerous. It was one of the most feared planets in the galaxy. Even the toughest alien species avoided it. People called it a death world because nothing survived there for long. And now Rhea was stuck on it. Alone. She checked her ammo. Half a magazine left. She needed shelter. She needed high ground. But most of all, she needed rescue. Suddenly, she heard a click behind her. She spun around with her rifle up. But it wasn't the creature. It was a person. An armored figure stood in the shadows, pointing a knife at her. The armor was old, scratched, and covered in strange symbols. The helmet had a cracked visor, but Ray could tell it was human. Military gear. Same style as hers. The person grabbed her and yanked her backward just as the six-eyed beast burst through the trees again. But the creature missed them. It ran right past. They were hidden. The armored figure pulled Ray into a small cave hidden under a tree root. It was dark inside, but safer now. The figure finally removed their helmet. It was a man. His face was scarred, eyes hard and tired. He looked at Ray and spoke quietly. "You're not the first human to crash here." Ray stared in shock. Who are you?" "Name's Cal. I was part of a recon squad. Crashed 5 years ago. Everyone else is dead." She couldn't believe it. "You've been surviving here for 5 years?" Cal nodded. "Long enough to learn one thing. This planet doesn't want you dead, it wants you to suffer." He pointed to her beacon. "You sent an SOS, didn't you?" Ray nodded. "Yeah, Earth needs to know." Cal looked grim. "Then we've got a problem. You didn't just call for help. You lit a flare in the dark." She didn't understand. "What do you mean?" But before he could answer, a loud thud shook the cave. Dust rained down. A louder, angrier roar echoed outside. More footsteps. And this time, it wasn't just the first creature. There were 2 of them. Maybe more. Cal grabbed his knife and whispered, "They know you're here." Ray's eyes widened. The cave trembled as the huge creature moved outside. Its footsteps were heavy, and the growling echoed through the stone walls like thunder. Sergeant Ray Morgan held her breath, pressed against the cave wall, rifle in hand. Next to her, the man who had saved her, Cal, stood calm and alert, holding a long blade made of alien bone and steel. Outside, the six-eyed stalker beast searched for them. Its claws scraped the rocks. It sniffed the air, trying to pick up Ray's scent. Then, slowly, the beast moved away. Its growls faded into the jungle. Ray finally breathed again. "Is it gone?" She whispered. Cal nodded. "For now, but it'll be back." The cave was dark but dry. Old bones and supplies were tucked into the corners. Ray realized someone had been living here for a long time. Cal wasn't lying. He had survived on this planet for years. Ray sat down on a flat rock, exhausted. "I thought I was the only one left." Cal didn't answer. He just sat across from her and sharpened his blade with a small stone. Sparks flew as he worked. Ray looked around. "How long have you really been here?" Cal paused. 5 years, 2 months, and 16 days. Her eyes widened. "How did you survive this long?" He glanced at her. "Learn the rules. Stay quiet. Stay hidden. Never sleep in the same place twice. And don't trust anything that looks safe." Ray shook her head. "What happened to your squad?" Cal's jaw tightened. "The Vraks got them." "The Vraks?" she asked. He stood and walked to the cave's entrance. "Come on, I'll show you." They moved through the jungle slowly and carefully. Cal walked like a shadow, always watching, always listening. Ray followed, amazed at how calm and focused he was. He seemed more like a ghost than a man, someone who had become part of the death world itself. The jungle was alive with danger. Ray saw trees with spikes that fired when touched, pools of water that hissed and boiled with acid, creatures hanging from branches that looked like flowers until they opened wide, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Eventually they reached a high ridge. Cal crouched and pointed down into a deep canyon. Ray looked and froze. Down below was a massive hive. Hundreds of wracks moved through it. They were tall, armored insectoid aliens with sharp limbs and glowing red eyes. Their skin was black and chitin-covered, like beetles. They moved quickly, working together like a swarm. Ray whispered, "What are they doing?" "Building," Cal said, "and preparing." "For what?" He looked at her, his face grim. "War." Ray's stomach turned. "But why? Why would they care about us?" Cal pointed to a corner of the hive. Cages. Inside them, Ray saw human shapes, some alive, some barely moving. Her voice broke. "My squad?" Cal nodded. "They took your people. Same way they took mine. Sometimes they keep them alive to study. Sometimes to feed the young." Ray gripped her rifle tighter. "We have to get them out." Cal gave her a hard look. "If we go down there, we die." She glared back. "Then help me make sure we don't." Before Cal could answer, a small light on Ray's belt began to blink. Her emergency beacon. She pulled it off and looked. Signal. Received. The words flashed on the screen. Her message had reached Earth. Hope rose in her chest. "They heard me. Earth heard me." Cal's face went pale. "That's not good." Ray frowned. "What are you talking about?" "It means help is coming." Cal stepped back, shaking his head. No. Don't you get it? The Vraks are smart. Smarter than we thought. They've been waiting for someone to send a signal like that." Ray blinked. "Why?" "To trace it," Cal said. "To follow it back to wherever it came from." He pointed to the sky, to Earth. Suddenly the sky darkened. A loud shriek echoed above them. They both looked up. A massive shape soared through the clouds. Wings as wide as buildings, a long tail, spines down its back. It let out another screech that shook the trees. Cal's eyes widened in horror. "A spire beast," he said. "They don't come out unless the whole hive is moving." The creature circled once, then dove straight toward the ridge where they stood. "Run!" Cal shouted. They sprinted downhill as the creature slammed into the cliff behind them, exploding trees and rocks in all directions. Ray tumbled, rolling through dirt and mud, barely avoiding the flying debris. The jungle roared with chaos. More Vraks climbed. From the hive, the spire beast flew overhead, searching. Hunting. Cal and Ray ducked into a hollow log, breathing hard. The beacon blinked again. A second message appeared. "Earth response inbound, ETA, 2 hours." Ray smiled through the dirt and blood on her face. "We're gonna make it." Cal didn't smile. He pointed to the beacon again. A new warning had appeared. Unidentified. Signal detected, origin unknown. Transmission piggybacked. Ray's heart sank. What does that mean? Cal stared at the screen. It means your signal didn't just go to Earth. It went to someone else too. Ray's hands trembled. Who? Cal looked toward the sky. The clouds were shifting. Dark shapes moved behind them. Not birds. Not stars. Ships. Alien ships. You just brought the Vraks out of hiding, Cal whispered, and now they're coming for Earth. Asterisk smoke rose from the jungle trees as Ray and Cal crawled through the thick undergrowth. The spire beast had destroyed part of the cliff, but they had survived by hiding in the hollow log. Now they needed to move fast. Above them, the sky wasn't clear anymore. It looked wrong. Dark shapes moved behind the clouds. Ray kept checking her emergency beacon. It was still blinking. Earth response inbound, ETA. 1 hour 52 minutes. She wanted to feel hopeful. Rescue was close. But the second message on the screen kept flashing like a warning light in her brain. Unidentified signal detected. Transmission. Piggyback tray showed it to Cal again. What does this mean exactly? Cal wiped dirt from his face. It means we're not the only ones watching this signal. The Vraks or something working with them used your beacon to send out their own message. They hid it in your signal like a stowaway on a ship. Ray frowned. What did they send? Cal stood up slowly and looked toward the sky. A location, coordinates, a warning, maybe even a trap. Suddenly there was a low hum in the air. A strange sound not from the jungle. Ray looked up. Do you hear that? Cal nodded. Yeah, that's not thunder. They stepped out into a clearing and saw huge alien ships rising from behind the mountains. The ships were black and sharp, shaped like knives or wasp wings. They weren't like the Vraks hives Ree had seen underground. These were machines, advanced, deadly, and terrifying. Those ships were hidden, Cal said. The Vraks didn't just evolve on this planet. They were put here, waiting. For what? Ray asked. Cal turned to her. For someone to open the door. Ray realized what he meant. Her SOS had opened that door. Back on Earth, they'd see the signal as a distress call from a stranded soldier. They'd respond like they always did with everything they had. Ships, weapons, soldiers. They'd have no idea they were flying right into a trap. We need to warn them, Ray said, gripping her beacon. I can change the signal. Tell them. Not to come. Cal shook his head. It's too late. Once Earth gets a distress call, especially from a Deathworld, they don't ask questions. They send the Deathworlders. Ree raised an eyebrow. The what? Cal gave her a serious look. You've never seen a Deathworlder fleet, have you? She shook her head. No, I was recon. Ground team. Cal's face darkened. Then you don't know what's coming. He led her deeper into the jungle, where they found a small lookout tower made from crashed parts and jungle wood. Cal had built it over the years. They climbed to the top. From there, the view was terrifying. More. Vrak ships were rising, dozens of them. Swarms of flying beasts filled the skies. The jungle below buzzed with movement. The entire planet was waking up. It's not just the Vraks, Cal said. This whole place is alive in ways we don't understand. You think you've seen the worst? You haven't, not yet. Ray stared at the beacon in her hand. I thought I was saving myself, she said softly. Cal nodded. And you might have doomed Earth. Ray opened the beacon's manual controls. She tried to send a cancel message, tried to redirect the signal. But it was jammed, blocked. The Vraks are stopping us, she said. They're jamming the signal. Cal looked up. Then Earth doesn't know. They're walking into this blind. The clouds began to swirl above them. Wind whipped through the trees. A massive crack split the sky. Something came through. At first it looked like a comet. Then it slowed down. It was a ship, huge, black and silver, covered in glowing red lines. Then another appeared. Then another. Ray's eyes widened. The Deathworlders had arrived. The Deathworlders were Earth's most powerful military force. They weren't diplomats. They didn't talk. They didn't wait. They destroyed. The Deathworlder warships hovered above the planet like silent giants. Then, without warning, they opened fire. Red beams of energy lit up the sky. Explosions ripped across the jungle. Entire mountain ranges melted under the heat. The Vraks screamed, but the Deathworlders didn't care. They bombed everything. Cal. And Ray watched from the tower as the jungle was torn apart. Trees exploded. Hives burned. Rivers boiled. Ray couldn't believe what she was seeing. They're leveling everything, Cal nodded. That's their job. Earth sends them when they want to wipe a threat off the map. But they don't even know the real threat yet, Ray said. They think they're saving me. Cal gave her a grim look. No, they're containing you. What? He pointed to one of the ships. See that symbol? That means total lockdown. No survivors. No escape. Ray's voice shook. You mean they don't plan to rescue me? They think it's safer to wipe the whole planet clean, Cal said. If they think something here could reach Earth, they'll kill everything, even us. Just then drop pods fell from the ships. They hit the ground like meteors. Earth. Soldiers tall, armored, faces hidden behind red visors marched out. Their weapons were advanced. Their orders were clear. Ray grabbed her rifle. We need to talk to them. Cal grabbed her arm. No. If they see us, they'll shoot first. And ask questions never. But I'm one of them. Cal shook his head. Doesn't matter. You're here. That's all they care about. The ground shook again. Not from the Deathworlders. From below. The earth cracked. A low, deep sound echoed through the jungle. Vraks weren't retreating. They were awakening something else. A bigger hive. A deeper layer. Ray's beacon blinked again. But this time, it wasn't a warning. It was a voice. Soft. Hissing. But intelligent. It came from beneath the surface. You woke the first layer. The true hive still sleeps. And now, Earth is next. Ray stared at the beacon, frozen. The Deathworlders were still bombing the planet, but they didn't know what was buried deeper. They were too late. Helfin hadn't been the threat. It had been the lock. And Earth had just broken it. The voice in Ray's beacon echoed in her head. It wasn't human. It wasn't even Vraks. It was something deeper, older, and far more dangerous. You broke the seal. The true hive awakens. Earth will burn. Ray stared at the small screen, her hands trembling. She looked at Cal, but he didn't speak. He was frozen too, his face pale. All around them, the jungle shook like it was alive. The wind howled. The ground cracked. And from deep below, something massive stirred. The Deathworlders were still bombarding the surface. Explosions lit the sky. Vraks creatures screamed as they burned. Earth's most elite soldiers were everywhere, killing anything that moved. Ray had thought they would save her, but now she realized they didn't even know what they had stepped into. We have to stop this, Ray said. Cal's voice was low. We can't. It's already started. The ground beneath the tower split open with a deep roar. Something rose from the earth. Something impossible. A world spine, a massive root of the planet, pulsing with alien light emerged from below. But it wasn't a plant. It was a limb, covered in armor, sharp as a blade. Glowing with symbols Ray couldn't read. It moved, and with it came thousands of Vraks more than before. They were larger, faster, and more organized. Their eyes glowed white instead of red. These were not wild beasts. These were soldiers. Cal stepped back. This isn't a hive. It's a weapon. Suddenly, the beacon lit up again. Deathworlder command to field units. Full extermination protocol, no survivors. Ray's heart dropped. The Deathworlders had made a decision. They weren't here to save the planet. They were here to erase it, including her. Cal looked at her. They're going to glass the surface, just like they did to Era 7. I know, Ray said. We have to do something. Like what? Cal asked. We can't outrun an orbital strike. Ray looked at the world spine still rising from the Earth. We go in, Cal blinked. Into that? If there's something buried there that can destroy Earth, Ray said, then that's where we stop it. Or we die trying. Cal stared at her for a moment, then gave a dry smile. All right, Ghost Marine, let's go. They jumped from the tower just before it collapsed. Ray and Cal sprinted through the burning jungle, dodging fire and falling trees. Around them, Vrax clashed with Deathworlder soldiers in brutal battles, claws versus guns. Venom versus Plasma. It was chaos. But Ray and Cal didn't stop. They reached the edge of the massive pit the world spine had opened. It pulsed with light. Deep below, there was a strange glow, like a heart beating underground. They climbed down. The deeper they went, the stranger it became. The rock turned to metal. The walls were covered in alien carvings and symbols. Machines hummed softly. Ray's breath came in gasps, the air growing thin. This isn't natural, Cal whispered. This whole planet. It's artificial. Ray looked around in shock. It's a cage. They reached the bottom. A vast underground chamber stretched out before them. In the center was a core the size of a small city. Floating above it was a creature unlike anything Ray had ever seen. It wasn't Vrax. It wasn't human. It was ancient. A being of energy and shadow with hundreds of eyes and limbs that constantly shifted. It watched them with interest. Then it spoke directly into their minds. You have freed me. Ray stepped forward, her rifle shaking in her hands. What are you? I am the source, the first, before Vrax, before your kind. Cal whispered. You were buried here. I was locked away by those who feared me. But time weakens all chains, and your signal opened the last door. Re-aimed her rifle. You're not getting out. You are already too late. Suddenly, a light burst from the core. A beam shot straight into the sky. Ree's beacon screamed with alerts. Warning. Exotic signal transmission in progress. Destination. Earth. They're sending something. Ray shouted. A virus? A weapon? Something. Cal pulled out a grenade pack. We stop it here. Blow the core. No, Ray said. Not yet. She stepped forward, raising the beacon. Earth Command, this is Sergeant Ray Morgan. You're being targeted by a planet-based AI threat. We're at the core. We can destroy it, but we need you to stop the orbital strike. Give us 60 seconds. No response. Cal looked at her. They won't listen. They never do. Suddenly, a voice came through. Ray? This is Commander Voss. Are you alive? She nearly cried. Yes, sir. We're at the source. We can stop the transmission. You have 1 minute. After that, we're wiping the planet. Ray looked at Cal. Let's finish this. They ran toward the core. Vrax soldiers appeared, guarding the source. Cal sliced through them with his blade. Ray fired shot after shot. They moved like ghosts, silent, deadly, unstoppable. Finally, they reached the base of the core. Cal slammed the grenades into the exposed vents. Ray opened the beacon, syncing the detonation. They looked at each other. Ready? Cal asked. No, Ray smiled, but let's do it anyway. She pressed the button. The chamber lit up. The explosion tore through the core. The beam to the sky snapped in half. The source let out a final scream, not in sound, but inside their minds. Then everything went black. When Rhea opened her eyes, she was on a Deathworlder dropship. Her body ached. Her armor was burned. But she was alive. Cal sat nearby, his arm in a sling. You made it, she said. So did you, he smiled weakly. Barely. Commander Voss stood over them. His red visor gleamed. You stopped the signal, he said. Ray nodded. It's over? Voss shook his head. No, that was only one cage. He handed her the beacon. It was blinking. New signal detected. Origin. Deep space. Multiple sources. Ray stared at it, heart sinking. What is it? Voss looked out the window, and in the sky above the planet, tiny black dots were appearing. Not ships. Eggs. Tens of thousands. Launched into the stars before the core was destroyed. Heading for Earth. The source had lost, but it had planned for failure. Ray's voice trembled. We didn't stop it. No, Voss said. But we just started the real war.